We are kicking off G2E 2023 with Rick Arpin, who heads up the gaming practice for KPMG, one of the big four, I believe the term is, accounting firms. And as everyone knows, accounting firms in gaming, like KPMG, are really consultancies today that serve a variety of clients on a cross-section of issues. So Rick, first of all, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Frank. I know everyone says this when they come to these interviews, but you're a trusted source for us in this industry, and we enjoy your daily reports and all the information you guys put out, and you do a great service for our industry, so it's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you, and the folks, you know, I'm kind of like an emeritus now, so it's the folks you met earlier on the way in who really deserve the plaudits.
Yep.
Tell us, first of all, a little bit about you, and then tell us a little bit about KPMG's gaming practice.
You bet. Well, I was so born and raised in Las Vegas, and I've been around the industry my whole professional career. Started in public accounting as an auditor, and worked at MGM Resorts for 15 years in a variety of roles, and then came to KPMG about 4 years ago to lead our gaming practice. And it was, you know, the firm has had a history with the industry, but it's sort of sporadic and somewhat random, and realized, especially as PASPA decision came down, that there was a lot of opportunity in the space, and was looking for someone to lead the practice. So that was a great fit for me at the time. We serve sort of folks across the spectrum, land-based operators, commercial and tribal, suppliers, online, lottery, racing, you name it. And we, while I'm sort of lead the U.S. firm, we have other member firms across the globe, and we coordinate pretty closely with them too. So we do a lot of work, particularly in Europe, some in Australia as well, and some in Greater Asia. But our European, UK, Islands, Malta practice is very strong in the online space. So we've been able to partner with them quite a bit, serving our clients. So again, across the spectrum of clients, and we can probably get into some of the details of what we do service-wise, but across a variety of services, as you mentioned. It's not just anymore core audit and tax, right?
Do you have some names that you can throw out of clients that
sure.
would impress the folks watching this video?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, in the U.S., from just a couple public company audit examples, because that's at least public information, right? Accel Entertainment out of Chicago, and FanDuel out of New York, a subsidiary of Flutter. We have some other audit clients. We have a lot of tax clients. That's been sort of our longest standing service area. So Penn Entertainment, Aristocrat, a couple of examples of tax clients. Again, we serve those folks in a variety of ways from a tax and consulting perspective. We do a lot of deal work. So we've had a lot of M&A in this industry historically. We expect that to continue, and we have folks that specialize in that, both from a sort of financial diligence perspective, a tax structuring perspective, and then even on the back end, sort of helping folks, put the two companies together and that sort of thing.
Right. One of the things before we get into more specific questions that I have to say is thank you, Las Vegas, since as a native Las Vegan, you would appreciate the fact that as a Philadelphia Phillies fan, we certainly appreciate you having sent to us Bryce Harper and Bryson Stott.
Yes, it's wonderful following them into the Philadelphia baseball scene.
The Las Vegas Phillies.
Yes.
Rick, what are 2 or 3 of the big issues that you deal with in terms of the consultancy part of your business?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so number one for us is thinking about where is the industry headed from just how is it going to be positioned? And again, a lot of that manifests itself in M&A, but I think particularly as we get farther and farther away from PASPA, we get a little bit more settled in number of states having sports betting, and you can only have 50, right? It's going to be fascinating, I think, for us to see how do companies think about more organic growth, more product development, more focus on the customer. So while we have, again, we love when there's M&A because there's services that are needed in those transactions, and we can provide those services. I'm almost more interested in where do these companies go next, and so we're thinking about how do we position our own services in areas like customer, in areas like just organizational excellence. And we have folks that do that in our firm for a variety of industries. And how is the gaming industry different or the same as others when it comes to this maturation process? I mean, we are just so early, particularly in the online, obviously, but even in the land-based space, there's been sort of so much growth over the last 30 plus years that, and M&A and other things, I'm certainly not convinced, and I've come from the industry, I'm not convinced we're even there yet in that regard in terms of optimizing who we are as an industry and as individual companies. So that's a key one for us to think about. Where is this industry headed? And then you get into all sorts of other issues like, well, who else is going to come into this industry? Right. You get the Fanatics of the world, and you get these other issues that happen. Those are pretty interesting strategic issues. When
I think about sports betting and the pervasiveness, if that's the right word, of the advertising, a lot of which, and there's a lot of 14-year-old boys going to be sitting there in front of those TV sets watching the NFL or on their devices, I guess. One of the things that I wonder about is this movement towards responsible gaming and how the operators are going to be able to genuinely embrace responsible gaming in a meaningful way and maintain the growth of their bottom line.
Yep.
So can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure can. It's something we take very seriously. We published a report about last October around consumer perceptions around ESG, environmental social governance factors, and how do they think about when they're interacting with gaming companies, what are they looking for? We're updating that this year after G2E will be out, and literally the title of the theme of the report is customer sustainability. And there's a lot of great folks in the industry, John Akers is one of them who's talked about this. We can't just treat customers as transactions. We have to build lifelong relationships with them, or they're going to burn out, and then therefore the industry will burn out. And so that survey this year, for example, compared to last year, consumers were much more accepting of advertising last year in the U.S. than they are this year. So one more year on, and already you see a bit of fatigue. And by the way, of course, we surveyed UK folks as well, and they were already lower. They were already lower on the acceptance level rate. They've been through this gauntlet and sort of the backlash of advertising. And so I don't know that doesn't answer your question about how can operators do it. Our point of view is that, and I mentioned earlier about maturation in the customer area, we've got to get better as an industry thinking about our customer first. What do they want? What do they need? And that's going to take a bit more relationship building. Sometimes that's, of course, we're talking about maybe analytics, relationship building, data and information. Again, we're still early innings, so how much data do we have on customers? How much are we doing with it? Or are we just on to the next state at this point, trying to get more data? There's going to be a need for that, or we are, our view is that we have to address this to have a sustainable industry. It's just, we will face the backlash. We've already seen some of those instances, advertising restrictions, other things, but we've got to take it seriously as an industry.
Yeah, and as much as we have liberalized everything in American society for a long, long time, the word prohibition still exists, and one should think that it may be a possibility, if not nationally, perhaps in jurisdictions.
Yeah, everyone's forecasts go from 35 states to 37 states to 39 states, or 6 iGaming states to 8 to 10. No one's got one going backwards, do they? But right. It doesn't take prohibition, Frank. Ohio just doubled their tax rate. Massachusetts just put in some pretty strict laws around data privacy. Right? There's lots of things, and there's been advertising restrictions. So we don't need prohibition to sort of face hardship, if you will. And again, the AGA, lots of folks have been very proactive. We just came off Responsible Gaming Education Month. Great initiative, great endeavor, lots of support for that. We just need to keep doing more and more.
You had mentioned M&A, and the IPO market, the M&A market, all of those things have been constrained over the past year or two because of the conditions in the capital markets generally.
Yep.
There's some belief that that's loosening up. What do you see?
It sort of fits and starts for us, right? from our economic view at the macro level, what I would say is the deal market continues to be pretty rough. In our industry, just directionally, it's been better than the national sort of industry-wide conditions, and that's in part because we've seen private equity step in a little bit more. You know, they can sort of fill in some of the gaps. We still see a high strategic need for M&A. And so some deals just get done because they're so important that even at 7% interest rates or in tough markets, they can get the deal done. So we've seen it be a little bit better for us than our economists see it across other industries. You know, we I think as a firm, probably not trying to be in the business to predict when it unfolds. We probably thought it would have loosened by now, so we weren't right about that. So we're not probably, you know, I mean, economists are economists. They can do the best they can. Our thesis for us in the gaming space is help our clients position themselves as best they can strategically. If that means M&A, let's get ready for when they can do a deal. And in the meantime, you know, again, get your sort of house in order if that's what's needed to get ready for that deal, right?
One of the things that you had mentioned too about earlier is about people coming into gaming. And we have a situation, you know, it was long considered that the only people in the gaming industry would be gaming companies.
Sure. Because
of the licensing and the intrusive investigations go into the licensing process and so on. And we've seen people like Disney literally wage war against casinos in states like Florida. And today, casinos, Disney's in the betting industry as an owner of ESPN.
Yeah, what changed?
And the laws and the regulations have changed so that ownership can be separated a little bit.
Sure.
Do you see that trend continuing of gaming becoming less insular and being owned more by, you know, sort of an integrated corporation?
Generally, yes. I think the harder question there is to what extent, like how far can that go? If it could go far, I think it's certainly interesting. I think of the payments space, where we've got some great companies doing some great work. But, you know, where's Apple, right? Where's Google? They're not, you know, very close to being in this industry. But could they someday? And what would that do to our industry? What positives and challenges would that bring to our industry? Those are really interesting. I think in the near term, we're going to continue to see this sort of adjacency condition where adjacent industries are getting interested in gaming. They're going to find ways, and there'll be this gradual sort of, if loosening is the right word on the regulatory side, but just figuring out ways to get these sorts of deals done. Because the media companies, the sports teams, et cetera, they know that the value here. And I think the same thing has been happening. I think will continue to happen on the video gaming side. Right? This sort of confluence, if it's not convergence, it's more confluence of sort of parallel paths around non-cash gaming and actual gambling around video games. I think that's going to continue as well.
And one of the things as an investor that I should hope is that as this occurs, valuations rise.
It should, right? I mean, we have a built-in constraint through regulation that if we can get more people in, that's right. I mean, it's like, again, it's like the private equity story. That helps everyone because now there's capital available and it drives valuation. That's right.
One final question, Rick. And in talking before we came on camera, you had mentioned something about cybersecurity, and that's obviously an issue that's front and center. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about your firm's work in cybersecurity.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we like many of the big accounting firms as well as others, have to deal with this. We have thousands of people around our firm that deal with technology and cybersecurity in particular. We've worked on, the public information, worked on some of the, bigger hacks that have happened, the SolarWinds issue a few years ago, T-Mobile's hacks. So we're very familiar with sort of how this can happen, how best to try to protect ourselves. Of course, it's really true, right? It's going to happen. It's a matter of having it happen as little as possible and mitigate the impact, right? And I think what we've seen in our industry is simply we have some some reasons we're targeted. We have a pretty difficult systems environment, particularly in the land-based side in particular because of the different systems and how they have to be networked together. The food and beverage POS is different than the gaming system and so on. And you've got some older technology. We've got, we are required to have more systems on premises versus in the cloud where we could benefit maybe from some of the cloud security that's out there. So there's some issues there. Online, obviously, again, very, very new, lots of customer data. So again, there's reasons we're a target. And there's practices we can do better at, clearly, as an industry. We help some of our clients with those. We're probably going to be helping more of our clients with those in the coming weeks and months, right? A lot of inbound calls in the last few weeks from folks, a bit freaking out, right? And again, it's one of these things. It's terrible what happened, obviously. The question is, will we turn it into an opportunity to just get ourselves better as an industry, company by company, and use it to our advantage? It's a little bit like COVID, right? No one wanted a pandemic, but what can we learn from it? What can we be better at because of it? I think this is going to be the same. And these things have happened in waves. We now, I think, know, at least from media reports and one of the providers, that these folks hit about 3 or 4 other companies, not in gaming. So it's not like it was just us, and it's not like it's not going to happen again. And so, what's their next way to get in? And how do we prevent that? That's what we should be focused on.
Okay, great. A lot of good issues to discuss. Anything else that you'd like to address?
No, I think we're looking forward to a very busy G2E. I know everyone around the conference, a great job by the organizers as always, and it's going to be a busy week. I thought last year was really busy, and it seems like this year's just going to be even better. So glad to see everyone here, and it'll be great to connect with some folks.
Yeah, I think we finally fully recovered from COVID now.
Yeah.
Rick, thank you. Very informative.
Thank you, Frank, for having us. Appreciate it.